I'm back. Here, Kusum ma'am. So here today I thought of taking chemistry class instead of maths. So I felt like you might have got bored with constantly listening maths lectures. So today for little change, I'll take chemistry. Already you all are familiar with one of the toughest chapter of standard 10th. So here standard 10th carbon and its compounds, students feel like in chemistry it's very difficult where they cannot remember the formulas or they feel it very difficult to learn with compounds naming, like how to write functional group and general structure. So all those they feel very difficult. So today I plan to take out that concept so that you get clear understanding with that. So here it will take few minutes me to adjust with my mic and all. So get ready. So let's start out with the topic. So here, as I told, like carbon and its compounds, it's very interesting chapter. Moreover, it is very easy chapter also. Here, if you know the basic things like how the structure is written or how we know about the general formula and then functional group, what is the valency, if you know all the things, it will be very easy for you to go through with the general formulas and then structures regarding that. So here, let's start out with, without wasting much more time. So here, so today's chapter is carbon and its compounds. So here, carbon and its compounds. So why this carbon has got so many compounds? So here in this chapter, you must know that why we are talking only about the compounds of carbon. So here, why don't we talk about other elements, like we could have taken hydrogen, oxygen, they are also very essential. But always we talk about carbon only. So you might get that confusion, like why carbon is so important. For that, here the reason is carbon's atomic number. So when we talk about carbon, carbon's atomic number is 6. So as its atomic number is 6, so its configuration is 2 and 4. Its valency will be like, as it has got 4 electrons in its outermost shell, it can accept 4 electron or it can donate these 4 electrons. If it is donating 4 electrons, it will left out with 2 protons only. That is, its nucleus will have 2 positive charge, whereas nucleus is having 6 because the protons are not changing. Nucleus is having 6 protons, but here electrons only 2. Thus it got lot of differences. Only 6 positive charge which are holding 2 negative charges. Because of the charge difference, it cannot exist, like it is not possible for carbon to donate its 4 electron. And the same case, if suppose it is accepting 4 electron. Now what could happen if it will accept 4 electrons? In this case, its electrons will become 10, that is negative charge is 10, whereas positive charge will be 6 only. Again there is charge difference, 4 negative charge, 6 positive charge. Whenever there is lot of charge difference, it will be difficult for any compound to hold it. So carbon can neither donate or accept electrons. Only the possibility it will share electrons. So as it is sharing electrons, it forms covalent compound. So in this chapter, when we start out, we must know about carbon. Okay, what is the versatile nature of carbon? Versatile means why we get carbon in many compounds, like most of the compounds in this universe are made up of carbon. There are 3 reasons for that, and it is one of the important topic of this chapter. The first point related to that, versatile nature of carbon, its size. Carbon size is very small. As it is very small in size, the second one, whenever like any element, if it is small in size, it will be more reactive. Here carbon is very small in size. Because of its size, its reactivity is increasing. It is highly reactive. It reacts with most of the other element present and it forms compound easily. Second point, its valency. It is tetravalent. Now what do you mean by tetravalent? Just now, if you recall back, I explained like there are 4 electrons in its outermost shell. Because of its 6 atomic number, 2 and 4 electrons are there. So neither it can donate 4 electrons nor it can accept 4 electrons. It will share with 4 electrons. So as it is sharing, it will form covalent bond. So here carbon is making 4 bonds. So we call it as 4 stands for tetra. It is tetravalent in nature. Now coming to the third point, it is having catenation property. Now this is totally new word for you, catenation. Catenation means it can form a long chain. There are other elements also which can form long chain, but carbon is the most one which is making a long chain. So here many carbons can join together to form a huge compound. So this property of making a chain is called catenation property. So here 3 reasons are there why carbon is versatile in nature. Okay. Whenever this question will be asked in exam, you need to cover out these 3 points. First give the headings and then elaborate it. Write down in detail like around 2 to 3 sentences. Because of its small size, tetravalency and catenation property, carbon can form many compounds. Now the next point is like what is the general formula related to carbon? So here carbon is forming 2 kind of, here carbon combines with hydrogen and the compounds which are made up of carbon and hydrogen are called hydrocarbons. So here with the name you can come across like hydrocarbons. Here the compound is made between carbon and hydrogen. So we are calling it like hydrocarbon. Now hydrocarbons are of 2 types. One are called saturated hydrocarbon and other are called unsaturated hydrocarbon. So here saturated, unsaturated. Whenever you are starting out with this chapter, by seeing the names and structures, you may feel like it's very difficult. But if you learn it in simple way, stepwise, it will be very easy and then easily you can remember all the structures. As I told the first question, why carbon is versatile in nature. After completing those 3 points, then we come across hydrocarbons. Hydrocarbons are of 2 types. One is saturated hydrocarbon, other is unsaturated hydrocarbon. Now what are saturated hydrocarbon? Saturated hydrocarbons are those which have single bond. If there is single bond, we call saturated hydrocarbon. If there is single bond between carbon and carbon, always we need to consider bond between carbon and carbon only. If there is single bond between carbon and carbon, we call it as saturated compound. If there is double bond or triple bond, we call it as unsaturated. This is the next important point. What are saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbons? If there is single bond between carbon and carbon, they are called saturated hydrocarbon. If there is double or triple bond, they call unsaturated hydrocarbons. Now the next one, in saturated hydrocarbons, what is the general formula? This is about general formula. This is also most important one. For general formula, for saturated compound, it is CnH2n plus 2. When it is saturated compound, it's CnH2n plus 2. Now what is this N stands for? N stands for number of carbon. Okay. Here N is representing number of carbon. Now for double bond compound, general formula is CnH2n. And for triple bond compound, formula is CnH2n minus 2. So this is the second important step which you need to learn prior to starting out with this chapter. So whenever we are learning certain language, alphabets are very important. So here in carbon and its compounds, this is the basic alphabets we can say. Once we know like alphabets, then we can frame the sentence very easily. Words can be done. So here we are learning about the alphabets now. So first memorize what is the general formula of saturated and unsaturated hydrocarbon. Moreover, saturated means single bond compounds, unsaturated double and triple bond compound. When it is double bond compound, its general formula. When it is triple bond compound, its general formula. So let's repeat along with me. When it is single bond compound, its general formula is CnH2n plus 2. When it is double bond compound, its general formula is CnH2n. When it is triple bond compound, CnH2n minus 2. Now what we call to single bond compound, what we call to double bond compound, and what we call to triple bond compound. The next topic comes over here. So here the single bond compounds are called alkanes. Single bond compounds are called alkanes. So concentrate here, alkanes, alkenes and alkynes. So here there is a difference of ene, ane and ine. So this is the general formula. Now first if we start out like hydrocarbons, they are divided into two categories. One is saturated, the second one is unsaturated. Saturated one, here comes alkane. For unsaturated, there are two categories. They are alkenes and alkynes. What are alkanes? When there is single bond between carbon and carbon, they are alkanes. When there is double or triple bond between carbon and carbon, we call them alkene and alkyne. Then comes its general formula, CnH2n plus 2. For alkane, here it is CnH2n, and for the alkyne, CnH2n minus 2. So this is the next important thing which you need to learn, their general formula. Now how we are making their formulas, how to write their formulas. This is the third step. As I told, N is representing number of carbon. So let's move out with that. If there is one carbon, we call it as meth. If there are two carbons in the compound, we call it as eth. If there are 3 prop, for 4 but, if it is 5 pent, if there are 6 hex, if there are 7 hept. So here in your syllabus you are having up to 7 only. So concentrate till 7. If there is 1 carbon, we call it as meth. If there are 2, eth. If 3, prop. If 4 are there, but. If 5 are there, pent. If 6 are there, hex. If 7 are there, hept. This is what we got namings as per the number of carbon. Then after that we are going to add the suffix. Here in alkane, if the compound is representing single bond, we add ane as suffix. If it is having double bond, we put ene. If it is having triple bond, we put ine. This is depending on bondings. So first of all, we need to learn this meth, eth, prop, but, pent, hex. After learning that, we'll be having suffix. Which kind of suffix will come? Like if it is single bond, ane. If it is double bond, ene. If it is triple bond, ine. So let's start out with few examples. If suppose I'll ask you to write what is the structure of compound having 4 carbon. If there are 4 carbons, what is the structure? And that too related to ane category, that is alkane. How you are going to write it? If 4 carbon are there, as I told, we call it as bute. So here first we will make 4 carbons. After that we need to add out hydrogens for balancing. See here carbon's valency is 4. I already told you it is tetravalent. If you recall that, you need to count out only bonds. Here 1 bond is there, 2, 3, 4. In the same way 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again 1, 2, 3, 4. So it got all the 4 valencies satisfied. Now we are writing butane. Bute stands for 4 carbon and then ane stands for single bond between carbon. Now here remaining will be hydrogen. So this is what we got butane structure. And the same way if they will ask for propane, pentane, hexane, whatever the name is there, how the namings will be there? So first one is methane, if you remember. So it's first one is meth. We'll put ane after that. So it will be methane. Meth stands for 1 carbon. So make 1 carbon and it's 4 valencies. 1, 2, 3, 4. Then remaining to be hydrogen. So here this is the structure of methane. Now after that, if it is ethane. Eth is there. How many carbons should be there? Exactly 2 carbons. So here placing 2 carbon, then satisfy its valency. 1, 2, 3, 4. One got 4 and the same way second also 4. Now remaining hydrogen. So here this is what the structure of ethane. After getting ethane, let's move out with propane. Propane is the third member. Prop means 3 carbon. Ane is single bond. So here 3 carbon first, then remaining bondings. It's very easy. Like whenever we start out, we need to place only bondings. So here I took 4 bonds. Now having hydrogen to that. So this is the structure of propane. So this is what we got, propane structure. Now the next one, butane. Like that, whatever the naming are given, I already gave that up to 6 carbon compounds. The first one is meth, second is eth, the third one is prop, then bute, then pent, then hex, then hept. Up to 7 if you learn, that's sufficient for your 10th standard, where you need to learn out the number of carbon and then the simple way you will be putting out hydrogens over there. So let's move out with the functional group. After learning this general formulas, the next step is functional group. How you can learn the functional group? So here functional group is also one of the important topic. Functional group, there are different, like 6 functional groups are there in your syllabus. If there is OH got attached, so these are the functional groups. You need to learn out what we call this if OH is there in the compound, what suffix to be added in the name and how to represent it. If suppose OH got attached, we call it as alcohol. And then suffix we add is ol. This all I'll explain you like how to write their names and all. If OH is there, we call it as alcohol and then OL to be put out. If there is CHO, this we call aldehyde. CHO stands for aldehyde and for this we use al as a suffix. This is a very important table. Here you will be getting around 2 to 3 marks question out of this, which can be like either in MCQ or in sub questions. So this topic learn very nicely. It's very interesting also. Only the table you need to learn out. If OH is there, we call it as alcohol, and then we use ol. If CHO is there, we call it as aldehyde and al is used. If CO is there, we call it as ketone, and then we use on as a suffix. Students often get confused with these two topics. Aldehyde and ketone, they looks like same. So when we write this in formula, for aldehyde we represent C double bond O H. So here I told you like carbon's valency is 4. It has to satisfy its 4 valency. Again count out. 1, 2, 3. 3 got completed. 1 more is remaining. So that it will use in the side where remaining carbons will get attached. And by counting that carbons, we give the namings. Once again I am repeating, if it is aldehyde, C double bond O H. And remaining here, the rest of the carbons will attach. For example, if suppose we attach 3 more carbons, how we will name it? See here, first step we need to count number of carbon. How many carbons are here? 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. What we call 4? Bute. Then single bond is there in carbon, ane. Till here it is common. First we need to count out number of carbon. Depending on bond, we put ane or ene. If double bond is there, ene. Triple bond is there, ine. If single bond is there, ane. Now remove this E out of the last, and then if it is ketone, this is aldehyde structure, as it is aldehyde, in aldehyde we have al. So we'll place al here. So the name is butanol. So this is how we call butanol. Then after that, here as I was saying, like what is the difference between ketone and aldehyde? The students get very often confused with this. Ketone, if it is aldehyde, C double bond O. For ketone also it's C double bond O only. What is the difference? How to differentiate between ketone and aldehyde? For that, if it is aldehyde, always this double bond OH will get attached at the last carbon. This is last carbon. Whereas for ketone, it will never be the last carbon, in between. So here, if we consider like first member of the ketone derivative. So first member of the ketone derivative is propanol. How you know that it is propanol? First I told you need to count out with number of carbon. So here how many carbons are there? 1, 2, 3. For 3 carbons we call it as prop. Then ane as single bond is there. For ketone we use on. So what we are going to do? We'll remove this E and we'll put on. So this is propanol. This is the difference. Okay. Ketone, the first member is starting from propanol only. We cannot make methanol or ethanol. The reason is the carbon must always attach at second. So there should be 2 carbons on both the side. So because of this, the first one can be propanol only. And for aldehyde, it is last carbon. So this is how to differentiate. Now along with their representation, write down their structures also, so that easily you can remember them, you can recognize them. Here CHO, which can be written as C double bond O H. So this is what we represent. And the same way aldehyde, either we represent it with CO or C double bond O. So here both the side will keep the bondings, so that both the sides you can place out hydrogen. Now the third one after ketone, first one is alcohol, then aldehyde, then ketone, then carboxylic acid. What is carboxylic acid? Carboxylic acid, when there is COOH in the last. If you find COOH got attached, we call it as carboxylic acid. How to represent this? C double bond O OH, and here the bond is representing like other carbons can get attached. So here C double bond O OH. Either they can represent in the structure form or simply they can add COOH. Whenever there is COOH, we call it as carboxylic acid and we put oic acid as a suffix. Now here, if suppose the structure is like CH3COOH, how you are going to name it? CH3COOH. So first of all, I told you count down the number of carbon. Whenever you start naming hydrocarbons, you need to count down number of carbons. Here 2 carbons are there. For 2 carbons, we call it as ith. The table to be remembered all. Prop, first one, if only 1 carbon is there, mith, then ith, then prop, then prop, then bute, then pent, then hex, then hept. This is the important part which you need to learn. If only 1 carbon is there, we call it as mith. If 2 are there, we call it as ith. If 3 are there, prop. If 4 are there, bute. If 5 are there, pent. 6 carbon are there, hex. For 7 carbon, hept. First count out the carbon and name according to that. Here 1, 2. 2 carbons are there. So we are going to take the second category one. Ith. Then ane. As single bond is there, ane. Now check out which functional group is there. COOH is there. And COOH stands for carboxylic acid. So here E will get removed and we are going to add oic acid. So here it is oic acid. This is what? Ethanoic acid. Suppose they will ask you to draw propanoic acid. How you are going to draw propanoic acid? Prop. 3 carbons are there. So first we need to take 3 carbon. Then for oic, double bond O, OH, remaining hydrogen. Here 2 bonds are there. We'll place 2 hydrogens. Here 1 bond is there. We'll place 3 hydrogen. This is propanoic acid. 3 carbons are there. Either we can represent it in structure form or we can write it as formula wise. First one is CH3, then 2 times hydrogen is there, CH2, COOH. 2 kinds of representation are there. Either we can place in a structural way or like formula 1. So it's your choice how you are representing. So this is about carboxylic acid. Once again, I am making you to recall, if there is OH, we call it as alcohol and we put ol for that. If there is CHO group, we call it as aldehyde and al for that. If there is CO, C double bond O, and here the condition like I told for aldehyde and ketone to get differentiate, aldehyde is always present at the last carbon, whereas in ketone it is at second carbon or any other carbon, not in the last. That's the identification, because in both of them C double bond O is there. Here very often students get confused. So only the identification for aldehyde, carbon will attach at last carbon, and for ketone it will be not at the last, it can be other carbons. Then carboxylic acid, where it is COOH, this is the structure, we call it as oic acid. Now the next one is, after carboxylic acid we are having ester. Now esters are represented as RCOOR dash. So here again you may get confused, like what is this R and R dash? R stands for any of the carbon alkyl group and R dash for other. Like if one of the side we are having alkane, like if suppose I'll write it like CH3, then COO, and another side C2H5. So when you are learning, try to learn it little slowly, because this topic is very easy, but it will take little time to understand. You are learning this for the first time, so it may take little time. Don't get worried about. Repeat the things again and again. In like 2 to 3 sessions, you will get it very clearly. Here CH3 is there and here C2H5 is there. How to name it? If there is CH3, only 1 carbon is there, we call it as meth. And if suppose hydrogen are 3, generally we call methane for 1 carbon. But here we call it as methyl when 1 hydrogen is less. Methane formula is CH4. If there is one hydrogen deficient, we call it as methyl. Now here two carbons are there. So eth, we call it as ethyl. So we got methyl and ethyl here. Now this stands for ester. How we are going to name it? Ethyl, methyl, ester. This is the one way of naming. So ethyl, methyl, ester. Here we need to follow out alphabetical order. E and M. E comes first. So ethyl, then methyl, then ester. Or we can name it like ethyl acetate. This much part is called acetate part. So we call it as ethyl acetate. So this is another way of naming. Choice is yours, like you can use either ethyl acetate or ethyl methyl acetate or ethyl acetate or ethyl methyl ester, like that. Now the last topic. So as I told you, only 6 functional groups are there in your syllabus. The first one was alcohol, second one was aldehyde, then ketone, then carboxylic acid, then esters, then halogens. Now what are called halogens? So here halogens like chlorine, fluorine, bromine, iodine, these are called halogens. Depending on what suffix is being used, we name the compound. Like if suppose CH4, one carbon is there, so we call it as methane. As if suppose I'll remove one hydrogen out of that. So instead of 4, if I'll take 3 hydrogen and one chlorine is added, carbon will get satisfied with 4 elements. Like carbon's valency is 4. It has to get satisfied with 4 different elements. Now here 3 hydrogens got attached as CH3 is there and 1 Cl. What will be the naming for this? So it is formed from 1 carbon. For 1 carbon we call meth. So how we are going to name it? Methyl chloride. As chlorine is being added, methyl chloride. Or we can name it as chloromethane. So whatever you feel easy to remember, you can follow out that rule. First count out the number of carbon. How many carbons are there? If 1 carbon is there, methyl. If 2 are there, ethyl. If 3 are there, propyl, butyl, pentyl, hexyl. In that way. Or simply you can write whatever the compound, whatever the element is being attached here. Halogen is being attached here. If chloro is attached, chloro, then 1 carbon, methane. Chloro, if 2 carbons are there, how it will be 2 carbons representation? If we'll make it 2, here it will be 5. So for this, you need to concentrate on general formula. General formula I gave CnH2n plus 2. If 2 carbons you are making here, and will replace by 2. 2 2s are 4. 4 plus 2, 6. While representation, you need to reduce 1. So here, we will reduce 1. So the 6 will become 5. And then 1 chlorine will get added. If suppose you are adding 2 chlorines, suppose if 2 chlorines are there, 1 more hydrogen will reduce. Whatever the number of chlorine will increase, here the hydrogen will get decrease. And will name depending on carbon. So here it is chloro. 2 carbons are there, ethane. If 3 carbons will be there, chloropropane. So this is what the functional group and general formula. So today I thought of starting out with the general formula and basics. Tomorrow in one more session where I will discuss out with this thing again. And next we'll start out with the chemical formulas, like chemical properties of the hydrocarbon. So in this chapter you got in detail about ethanoic acid and ethanol, where you need to learn its physical properties and chemical properties of hydrocarbon. Then cleansing action of soap. That's the last topic, how the soaps and detergent work. So their working principle. That is also one of the important question. So only few basic things are there, around 7 to 8 topics are there. If you learn them clearly, this chapter seems to be very simple for you. So this is very interesting chapter also. Concentrate for that. Try to learn much more. So yeah, thanks for watching those who attended. For more such videos, if you are liking my way of teaching, please like and subscribe my channel. And then so that whenever I'll start out, generally I'll take my live class for the long one in evening by this timings, like by 4:30 or sometimes by 4:15 onwards. So if you feel like, you can comment me so that the next video I'll prepare as per your requirements wherever you are lacking, those who are attending my classes. Thank you for watching. So let's wind up now.